So welcome everyone to Meet the Apps and Tips for Youth Part 2. This webinar is provided by the EdTech Center at World Ed. World Ed, as you know, is part of the XPRIZE Community Competition, and we have monthly Team World Ed support webinars. So we're glad that you could be here for this one. Before we get going, Mike Prentice-Glasgow, our host, is going to show us how you can engage in the webinar.
Hello, everybody. I am going to grab the presenter ball real quick. And so what we just want to do is, in our webinars, we are going to have periodic places where we're going to ask for you to chat questions. So you can engage with the presenters, and the presenters can pause to respond and answer any of the questions, because it's a rare opportunity to have practitioners and developers in the same spot. So what you can see right now is the WebEx client, according to me, or my view of it. And what I want to show you is the chat option, first off. So you'll see right here on the bottom right, you can see my box right here. I can address my chat to different people in the room. And so what we ask for y'all to do is to address all participants, so everyone can see whatever questions or whatever comments you would like to make during the presentation. So just make sure it's all participants, not panelists, not attendees. But if you do have a technical question, if your audio is starting to mess up, if you're having troubleshooting problems, please message the host, message me privately, and then I can help resolve that. Usually, there's some easy things we can check on, and so we can work through that really easily without disrupting the presentation. So that's that. You can also, if you look in the middle here, see who's in the room through by taking out the chat box, and you can see the panelists that are in the room, the attendees that are in the room, as well as the presentation. So with that, that's how we ask you to participate in this. Please, again, feel free to message me at any time if there are any questions, and we look forward to engaging with you. So I'm going to pass it back to Jen.
Great. Thanks, Mike. So Team World is a growing community of adult ed providers working in multiple contexts from the states that you see listed here. I would like to call your attention to the URL that you see on the screen here. This is where we're providing links to all of the support materials that we're developing for our team. You'll see this webinar pop up periodically during the webinar. And actually, Mike, maybe you could even chat this link, or Celia, a couple times during the webinar, just to make sure people know where to find support. Today, representing World Ed, we have not only Mike, but Celia Kallenbach, the Vice President of the U.S. Division of World Ed, and me, Jen Vanek. I'm Director of Digital Learning and Research for the EdTech Center. Celia and Mike and I, along with Priyanka Sharma and Victoria Neff, are all of the people coordinating Team World Ed for the EdTech Center. Today, we're also joining us. We have Prema Nidangadi and Catherine Davenport from Amrita. And then from Learning Upgrade, we have Vinod Lobo, Drew Robinson, and Megan Rodriguez as our guest presenters. So we will be hearing from each of them very shortly. So this is the agenda for our call today. We have a brief overview of why we're even doing this work, why we're engaged in this, and what exactly the XPRIZE and the Communities Competition are, and why we're engaging in them. Then we're also going to hear more from our representatives from both Amrita Learning and Learning Upgrade. You'll get an introduction to the apps. You'll see how to actually connect your learners to them. And then we'll hear some implementation tips from people who have used them with students. Throughout, you will have an opportunity to answer questions in the chat. So first, I'd just like to start with a big, broader context here. Why are we interested in participating in the XPRIZE competition? Frankly, I'm excited about this opportunity because I think it is a wonderful way for us to experiment with new ways of reaching the learners that we're used to serving, but also as a way to reach new learners who have yet to participate in the programs that many of you might be working in. Mobile, because so many adults in the U.S. have access to mobile devices, 97% have some sort of cell phone. Many of them have access to smartphones, where you can use mobile learning to increase the reach of your program, to personalize or accelerate learning, extend learning to reach new people, and then along the way supporting digital literacy of all of the participants who you're able to engage in learning through any of these apps. Available to us through the XPRIZE competition. So at this point, I'd like you to start thinking about questions that you might have about the competition, and reminding you that the place that you put them is the chat. Whenever you see a slide like this, Mike is going to peruse the chat and read out the questions so that we can all stay on the same page with our understanding about what's going on. So to get the ball rolling, I would like to invite Celia Kallenbach to talk about the communities competition and the XPRIZE. Celia has been involved with the XPRIZE on multiple fronts and is our resident expert. So Celia, you have control.
Hey, hi everyone, and thank you so much to our presenters for taking time to share their award-winning field-tested apps. And many of you already know that this is part 2 of a 2-part webinar where we are featuring all 4 apps and app developers that placed top placed apps in the Adult Literacy XPRIZE Communities Competition. This competition is really unprecedented, as is the availability of these apps in the U.S. I want to just say a few words about this to set the context for those of you who may not be as familiar with it. So XPRIZE Foundation is the organization that's actually has been leading this competition, and this is one of 8 currently that really range from this is the only adult literacy competition that they've ever done in the U.S. But there are others that all aim to really solve some big issue, address some big issue in a new and innovative way, which is what these mobile learning apps represent, and which is why it's an unprecedented opportunity for you to try them out for free. So there are 2 stages to this competition. And hang on here. We are at initial stage was field testing of lots of apps. Teams from around the world submitted apps or applications to develop apps to the specifications. And the 4 apps that you will get to use or already are using are the top apps, the apps that produced the best, highest learning gains using the CASA assessment. That's why we call them field-tested apps, because several thousand adults actually used them for almost a year and were pre- and post-tested. We are now at the second stage of this competition, in that we are in the communities competition, where the goal is really to get these mobile learning apps into as many people as possible who can benefit from them. You can see on the slide that the competition is funded by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Barbara Bush Literacy Foundation. And yeah, really the main goal is to get these learning tools to as many folks as possible during the competition time frame, which is fairly short. It's 5 months, and it started April 1, and access to the apps as free downloads ends in August 2019 of this year. Some apps like Codex and I believe Amrita will remain free beyond indefinitely, as far as I know, but others will after August only be available through a licensing or commercial arrangement. So, however, people who download these apps and use them at least 3 times by the end of this August will be able to use them for another whole year. Now, there are 4 apps, and as I mentioned earlier, we are featuring in this webinar the top 2 on this slide, Amrita Learning and Learning Upgrade. Last month, we featured CellEd and Codex, The Lost Words of Atlantis, and those apps are on our Team World Ed web pages, to which I will chat the link. So you be sure to check all the resources that are on those pages. Our staff have been working diligently to create resources that would help adult ed providers and their partners to make good use of these apps. And I think after today, you will all be more comfortable with the idea of trying them if you haven't done so already. In our view, all of these apps, all 4 of them, have merit. And we have not picked 1 or 2 as some of the other teams. We're featuring them all, and I want to leave you with this message that really, if you haven't done so already, you really should be the one trying them out and making decisions for yourself of which 1 or more apps you will bring to the adults you work with. You can use all of them, but we do not recommend that you start with all 4 of them with your learners or other adults with low literacy, because that probably would be overwhelming. So definitely after this webinar, go on and load them onto your Android device, tablet, or smartphone. And
Thank you,
with
Celia.
that, yeah, I'm going to turn this over to Jen.
Great. Yes, as Celia said, in our view, these apps all hold merit. They are all field tested. They have all proved effective to support literacy development. And we really think that it's up to you to align them with the needs of particular learners. So I just need to get the ball back. So now would be a great time for you to chat any questions that you might have. Mike, do we have any questions that have come up?
So far, it seems y'all have been crystal clear, and everyone is on the same page. So you can keep going.
Great. Okay, so we are going to move into our presentations from our guest panelists. We'll start with Amrita Create. They'll have 15 or 20 minutes to engage with you, to explain their work, and then we will move to Learning Upgrade. So I'm going to pass the ball to Prima, and feel free to take it away. Welcome, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Jen. I'll just go over Amrita Learning, our features, and then we will move into how it can be implemented in the field. Amrita Learning is an engaging, leveled K-8 reading curriculum designed to be visually appealing and easy to use. The Amrita app was made for adult learners. This makes it very different from apps that were designed for children and then modified for adults. Both the K2 and the reading library support family reading. The Amrita app will remain free even after the competition. We have 2 fictional stories before each life skill lesson. The fictional stories keep them motivated to read and also builds the vocabulary for reading. You can see the original drawings are designed to be appealing. The story characters also represent our different types of learners. Reading stamina is developed by providing long content passages with full audio support. Amrita Learning has a picture dictionary with English and Spanish audio. We found this to be the most used section during the XPRIZE competition by ESL learners at the K2 levels. Learning games support the lesson vocabulary. This is also a discreet way to test learners who do not want to answer questions. Amrita Learning has a reading library where students can learn to read with audio support. There are no assessments in the reading library. The library also houses popular science titles. This may help prepare for the science portion of the high school equivalency exam. We believe that literacy is not just about learning to read or getting jobs, but building optimistic adults with the strength to overcome difficult situations. Our stories are designed with this in mind. The library also includes self-empowerment articles, true stories of courage, and tales from around the world. The Spanish support is one of the most powerful features of the app for ESL learners. All content has Spanish vocabulary support with some fully bilingual stories and articles. We use natural voice audio for all stories. This way we capture the correct cadence of the English language. Students receive a certificate when they pass each optional grade level exam. The alphabet sounds are taught by choosing high-frequency letters so that word making can begin almost immediately. FINALIST first 500 sight words with English and Spanish audio, and also bingo games. Reading passages that emphasize common English syntax patterns. You can pass it on now to Catherine. She'll go over the reports and the implementation.
Thank you, Prima. Okay, while the ball is being passed, I'd actually like to just pause for a question, Prima. There's a question about exactly what happens after August 31st. Is it access for a year from August 31st, or is it access from when the app was downloaded initially?
The app is free for all learners, which means everybody can continue to use it for as long as they want, and new users can download it after August.
Okay, thank you. All right, welcome, Catherine. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, hello. I want to talk a little bit about reports and implementation. Our reports are free. Communities, can you hear me, by the way? I'm just checking.
Yeah, it sounds great, thanks.
Okay. Communities can use their community code to access the website, and you yourselves can manipulate the columns and access the different reports to tell the story you want to tell with your data. In this particular slide, we have users from World Ed. And so one of the things you can do, this particular slide shows a number of logins for these users. Now, although you could say, oh, they used it less than twice, we better contact them, we also give automatic notifications to users who have not used the app for 3 days. And moving to the next slide here. In this slide, we chose to look at people who started at level K and who went up to the upper part of 3rd grade during the 1-year field trial. And we've done a lot of research on these super users that we have. And so for people who want to use the app in a classroom setting, then we have some advice on certain kinds of activities that we've noted that these users have. So you could contact us later through the contact information. Amrita Learning app has won a number of awards, and I'm just looking here. We have not just the app, but the group that created the app won the UNESCO NLM Award for Adult Literacy in 2008, the Digital Literacy Award from the Government of India in 2015. Amrita Learning app was named one of 5 finalists by XPRIZE in 2018. And in 2019, Amrita Learning app was named one of 4 apps to qualify for the XPRIZE Communities Competition. There are different ways to download the app, but by far the superior method is to use this code. If you email it, SMS it, or WhatsApp it to the learners, all they have to do is click it. It takes them straight to Google Play download button, and they don't have to enter the code. You'll see this code again on the Contact Us slide, which you can take a screenshot. It's a little bit easier to read on that slide. The second method to download the app is the old-fashioned way. You go to the Google Play Store, you search for Amrita Learning app, all 3 words, you download the app, and in fact, for someone who has no phone literacy, it's really useful to help them through this step if you want to ensure it, because not only do they have to press the button which says install, they must also press the open button. And then you just want to ensure they can use their keyboard. We had a number of users in the field test that were able to use receptive language skills, but if we asked them to do anything on their keyboard, they failed. So it's the superior method if you have lower learners to give that other link that we provided. But this can be done, and the best setting is at a literacy center with a person helping. There's different levels of implementation that can occur by different literacy providers, and we're hoping with the implementation of these free apps that people can expand their level of implementation of literacy in their communities. Level 1 is download only, and hopefully, again, that would be supported, but if not, at least you're still scattering the seeds there. Number 2, download and facilitate the pre-assessment process. This means you help people hold their phones so they don't touch different parts accidentally. That as they get through the assessment, if they have navigation issues, they can be resolved with a person there. This is how it was done with the XPRIZE field test. The next level of support would be for you to provide 3 support sessions. One for downloading the app and providing a place for them to take the pre-assessment with support for navigation. The second one would be to provide support with actually using their phone. Like my father, he's fully literate, but when I bought him an iPad, it's been a year with many lessons, and he's still not fully technology literate. So for our folks who have low confidence, it's very helpful if some support is really provided for that. We will be providing videos for people who want to use us on how to provide this support, some helpful instructional videos. The third session would be just using the app itself for a full session in a place where there are adults in the room who can help with any issues. And if they say they don't have questions, the adults at least look and see, is this adult using this app to its full use at this person's level? The fourth level would be to use the material all the way up through level 3, but adding on to it that you use it as waitlist curriculum or supplemental curriculum so that adults can learn at home as well as in school. The fifth would be for people who really just want to make sure everyone is learning as much as they can. They have an extra room, they have an extra teacher or someone volunteering, but they don't have funding for curriculum. And then it can be used as curriculum, and it can be used in a multi-level classroom. And I personally have a lot of experience teaching multi-level classrooms. So people interested in that option can contact us again, and I can be in contact and support people with that. Both Prema and I will be available over the summer. We'll be traveling to 11 big cities in the U.S. between June and July. So people who are interested in in-person support can also contact us, and we'll see about setting an appointment with people. This is our contact information. And I see that bottom slide still doesn't. The bottom part is that great link for the automatic download code to give to learners. It's not showing that clearly, but you'll want to still take a screenshot, write it down carefully. You'll see it takes you automatically there. So it's really like, you know, the red ruby shoes. And that's it for us for right now.
Thanks, Prema. Thank you, Catherine. Was that I was seeing the bottom link as abc.xprize.org/AC3366. Is that the one you were thinking?
That's right, and it's got your code in it for your community. Right now, that's your code.
That's so great. Thank you. So I actually just noticed a question, Mike. I know this is all you, but I just noticed a question specifically for Catherine and Prema. Is there could you say a little more about how the online management system that Amrita is offering for these teams?
Okay, let me clarify that question. Are you asking about reports, or you're asking about support for implementation of distribution and instruction?
I'm actually not sure what Jenna meant by that, but maybe, Jenna, this is a question you could follow up with offline and CC me, and then we can get the answer into our FAQ.
I think Jenna is asking if she can get online and track the reports herself. And yes, you can, if with the community code. Now this education world only has one community code. So what will happen is that all the sub-communities are also sharing that code. But we can find a way to change that and provide you with access to the online system.
That's great. Mike, what other questions do we have here that we should attend to?
So we have one from Xavier Munoz asking, does the Amrita Learning app have a privacy policy available? And then we also have one from Sherry Lahine talking about, will the curriculum support mentioned be available on the the World Ed website, I assume that means? And those are the two main questions that haven't been answered in the chat.
I don't know the answer to the second question. That would be a Prema answer, but definitely it will be available on our website. And I forgot to clarify, I'm sorry to interrupt the question. When you're trying to spell Amrita, then you should spell it the same way as if you're saying the sentence, I am Rita. It's spelled like am and Rita put together, Amrita. So since it's a Sanskrit word, I just wanted to give that spelling tip, and Prema can address the remainder of that question.
Was the question the privacy policy?
There was a question about the privacy policy?
Yes, that one basically all Google Android apps have to follow a privacy policy, otherwise they're removed from Google Play. So whatever is required by Google, we do that.
Yes. And then also, can we make the curriculum support available on our World Ed site as well as the Amrita site? And I think the answer is probably yes.
That might take some consideration.
Well, I'm wondering if we can link to what is available rather than hosting things on our own site.
Of course you can link from your site to what's available. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions about Amrita Learning. I think we've covered everything. Okay, so I'm going to hand off to Drew Robinson, who will be talking about Learning Upgrade. And actually, I'm pretty sure it's Drew, and but you know, obviously, you're able to weigh in here too.
Thank you so much. So my name's Drew with Learning Upgrade, and I'm also joined by our founder and CEO, Vinod. And so at Learning Upgrade, we're the grand prize winners of the Adult Literacy XPRIZE. And so, that's been exciting for us. That was a massive 12,000 adult learners over 16 months. And, they did the pre-test and post-test, as Jen mentioned, on the CASAS. And so they started, it was all low literate adults, so third grade reading level or below. And, with the Learning Upgrade app, we were able to produce gains that were greater than what the learners would have experienced during a year of classroom study as well. So today, I want to talk about the Learning Upgrade app briefly. Most importantly, I want to focus on how you can implement Learning Upgrade as part of the communities competition at your site. And then I'm going to hand it off to Megan, and she's going to talk to you about implementation at her community college. So the Learning Upgrade app is 960 lessons that use song, video, and games to teach all of the CCRS standards. So we've gotten a lot of notoriety for our literacy, and we're going to talk about that. But we also have math, and so it's not required by us to provide that for the communities competition, but we are. And so every single one of you will have access to all of our math, taking your learners from kindergarten up through algebra. And then we also have our skill-based courses for GED and HiSET. Everything is available for the student, and then we're also going to be including our teacher tracking, which I'm going to talk to you about in a bit. And that includes our continuous assessment reports that gives you real-time feedback and a live look at how your students are performing. And then it also allows you to view, at the class level, or if you want to deploy this, let's say at a community college with multiple classes, it allows admins to go in and look at time on task for every single one of your learners. So the Learning Upgrade app is designed for small chunks of learning. And so this is, our English Upgrade 1 lesson. So you're going to start out on lesson 1, and you're going to move up through lesson 60, which is that only timed one, which is the final challenge. So the way the app works is learners, they're going to start, let's say, on lesson 1 with Alphabet Parade. Then they're going to hear a song, and that's going to be a part of the instruction. And then after the instruction, they're going to answer questions in a game format. And once they get 100 points, then they can move on to the next level if they get 75% or greater. So you'll see there for 54, 58, and 59, they got a bronze, so that's 75 to 90. If they get a 95 to 95, they'll get a silver, and then 95 and up, it's going to be a gold. Once they finish all 60 lessons, then they're going to get a certificate. So you'll see in this case, they got the bronze certificate. Once they complete those bronze levels at a silver, they get to go back and repeat to mastery. Then they're going to get a silver certificate. Now the cool thing is once they get that silver certificate, they're going to get to move on to the next lesson, which is going to be English Upgrade 2. And that's where we really started, before the XPRIZE closed. We're in use with thousands of adult learners across the United States, and we're in community colleges, libraries, adult schools, and a bunch of non-traditional programs like refugee centers and things like that. And so what we found working with our adult learners is there's this term called binge learning. And it's really similar to what we see with binge watching in Netflix, where when we get our learners enrolled, we want to give them the opportunity to continue making progress when it makes sense to them. So that's the beauty of the smartphone. Our adult learners, a lot of them have full-time jobs. They're trying to find ways to make it into classes or make it into a tutor at the library. And so with Learning Upgrade, whether they're waiting for their kids at the doctor's office, if they're on the bus, or if they're just at home, once the kids have gone to bed, they get to have that distance learning at their own pace. And so that's a story we've heard time and time again, is, they're able to complete multiple lessons at once and, break things off into those small chunks. So now I want to focus on how you can get started with the communities competition. So by default, for the XPRIZE, we had all of those 12,000 learners get onboarded with Learning Upgrade. And from that point on, they were learning on their own. And so in a lot of ways, it was the worst case scenario because learners are getting the app and then we have no way to track them. We have no way for our teachers to go in and make sure that they're using it. If they get to a lesson that they're having difficulty with, we don't have time for that one-on-one. And so that's the way that the communities competition is going to be set up, is you have that 4-digit code for 3366, and the learners can get started and joined into that pool for the communities competition. But what we're doing is we're going to be making all of our tracking tools and all of our reporting tools available at no cost to you as well, so that you can get signed up for a tracking account and have access to our powerful learning management system. So quickly, I just want to show you what it looks like to get started without. So if you go to our website at learningupgrade.com, the very first thing at the header, you'll see the communities competition. If you click on that link, you can just view this PDF and you can type in any communities competition team code. So for this one, you'll type in 3366. It's an editable field. Then you can save the PDF and print it, or you can download it and email it out to all of your learners. Now on this one page, we're going to give you everything you need to know to get your learners started. So they can download the app, they can click Get Started, and then it will walk them through the rest of the process. As I saw in the chat, somebody had mentioned our video as well, and that's something that we found to be really effective. We have a YouTube video that's also on that page for communities competition, and it's just a short 2-minute video that you can play in your classroom, or you can send the link out to your learners via text or email, and it'll walk them through the steps exactly how to do this. So a learner's going to download the Learning Upgrade app, and you can go to learningupgrade.com, but we also have a website, learningupgradeapp.com, and you can send that to all of your learners, and that website is going to detect the device that your learner is using, and then automatically give them the correct button to download. Now, unlike a lot of the communities competition, which is Android specific, we're also making our iOS version of the app available. And we want to do that for equity. So if you're launching this at your library or at your adult school, community college, and you have hundreds of adult learners, it's not really fair to say, hey, only the Android users can learn it. We want to make it available for anybody with a smartphone. So they'll download the app, they're going to click Get Started, then they get to choose that ELA or math track. Once they click the track, you can directly enroll into a course. So you can enroll into English Upgrade 3. You can start from the beginning, which would be English Upgrade K, or you can take a placement test. And that means we're going to assess the learner at the very beginning, and then we'll automatically enroll them in the appropriate Learning Upgrade course. After they've done that, they'll enter their first name, last name, and then in the class code field, that's where they're going to enter the communities competition code. From there, they're going to get a username, password, and school ID. And this is going to allow them to log in on any device. So they can log in on their smartphone, they can log in on a computer, and a lot of our adult learners, especially those in certain situations, they're using prepaid phones or phones that are used in the family. So it's really important for them to be able to have a username and password that can log in on any device, just in case that smartphone that they started with isn't the one that they're going to be able to use in the future. Then they'll see their course. Just for confirmation, you'll see 3366 here. They can click on any single one of these grayed out courses and add additional, or they can just start with the lesson that they picked. Now with tracking, and this is going to give you access to all of our Power LMS tools, go to learningupgrade.com. You'll see in our main menu where it says Pilot Request, you'll click on Pilot Request, and then you're going to fill out that Pilot Request form and make sure you enter. We're going to ask for your communities competition code. You'll type in 3366. Now we're going to send you a follow-up email, and instead of just a 4-digit communities competition code, it's going to be 7 digits. And your students will use that 7 digits, and by using the 7 digits, they're going to enroll into your teacher tracking account. So we'll provide that information. You'll click login. We'll give you a username, password, and school ID. And now you can log in to view all of our reports. You can see how the students are doing with their enrollment. You can see which learners have started, which courses they're on, and everything that's required to manage your classroom. In that email, you can just click this link. So it's PDF class code sheet. When you click on that, we're going to automatically populate your code, your name, and your school into this Getting Started guide. It's just a one-pager. It's available in English, Spanish, and we can get it to you in other languages if need be. And you can just send this to all of your learners, and they'll be able to self-enroll automatically. So now for the tracking and motivating. First one you can look at is our student monitor. This is the biggest one. This lets you view your class in real time. You can print certificates. And this is important because you can scroll over any one of these tiles which represents a lesson and see real-time data on how your students are doing. Number of times played, average scores, you get to see the lesson. And these ones in red, that means they got below 75%, so they have to play that lesson again. So if you click on that red, you can say, hey, wow, they've played this one 4 or 5 times, they've spent 60 minutes on it, and that gives you an opportunity as a teacher or a tutor to have some one-on-one time. We're also making our teacher whiteboard courses available for free. So if you see your entire class is struggling in a content area, you can use our whiteboard courses for whole class instruction. And that's really important for those of you that are in those blended classrooms. We also have tracking reports that allow you to enter a start and an end date. This is really important for those of you that are in the distance learning and need to report time on task. So here, you're going to see the course. You can see last played, hours played, and you can filter this down. So right now you're seeing 1 row per English course. You can also do English only and see totals aggregate for the number of English courses they're in. If you just purely want to report time on task, we have an all totals, and that'll condense each row for one student, and you can report that if you're in the states where that's required. Biggest one is celebrating student success. For the learners that complete an entire course, this is from the Learning Center, a refugee center where we're located in San Diego, and it means so much to our adult learners, which you guys know more than anyone is, a lot of them haven't had a lot of academic success in their lives. So to make a big deal, and we make these certificates available and easy to print within the LMS, and it makes a big deal going forward. And again, only with the tracking account is this possible. Without, the learners are on their own. And so by signing up for a tracking account, by filling in that pilot form, you'll not only be able to monitor your class, but you can also participate in printing certificates. So now it's time for an onboarding party. This is what we call our onboarding sessions. Print off those one-pagers, have your learners download the app, and then have a time for those of you in the blended classrooms where they come into the room. If you're at a library, get those forms, get everybody to start. And our key is if we can get them to complete one lesson on that first day, from that point on, all you have to do is monitor the reports, because we know once we get 1 or 2 lessons in, that's when the binge learning starts, and that's when Learning Upgrade really takes off in their lives. Feel free to contact me with questions. We're offering free webinars. We're also offering our full support, so you can call, email with any questions if you need help getting started. Just go to learningupgrade.com, click pilot request, and we'll be able to get you one of those tracking accounts right away. So now I want to send things over to Megan, and she can tell you what it's like to use this in a classroom.
Hi, Drew. Thanks. So my name is Megan Rodriguez. I work for the Adult Education Program at Bunker Hill Community College in Chelsea. So we got the pilot back in fall of 2017, and I teach level 3, so I'm the one that piloted it. So in my level 3 class, I kind of played around with it a little bit. I kind of wanted to see what this app had to offer, and so I kind of had some trial and error. But after the whole semester, which was from September to about January, we decided that this program was a great fit for us. So we implemented it in spring of 2018 with all of our classes. So we have approximately 215 students enrolled annually. We have 10 ESOL classes that range from levels 1 to 4, which is a very basic English class with some knowledge. And then we have 4 Spanish HiSET classes that have been using this as well. So the way we use it is we use it like a hybrid course. So students will come to class in person for 12 to 9 hours, and then they're required to do 2 hours online weekly, so on this app weekly. So we have the students, we tell them they can do 2 hours like all in one, or they can do about 20 minutes a day, whatever works for them, because we know with our population they're very busy, they have families. So we found that this is what works best for our program. So what I've learned, my tips are to have lots of patience. So not only for yourself when you're trying to implement this in your program, with your staff, because there's a learning curve with your instructors, as well as with the students themselves. A lot of them have different ranges. Some of them are really good with technology, some of them aren't. But this app makes it really easy for them to kind of go through it. Let's see. So my trial and error. So when I first started this, I had the students, I'd say, let's do 2 lessons a night. And I found that it was hard for some students to do that. Some of them advanced very quickly and they wanted to continue going and kind of got ahead of everyone else, and others kind of needed to slow down a little bit. It was a little harder. Eventually we figured it would be much easier just to let the students do it on their own and progress and kind of just take it at their own pace. And what we found was that students for our program, when we tested them, they would sometimes place directly into a level 3 class, but they didn't have the chance to go through levels 1 and 2. So they missed certain parts of grammar. So with this program, they were able to kind of fill in the blanks and kind of become more rounded in our class and participate. So Drew mentioned that you can have teacher course. So what I do in my class is if a student is stuck on a level and they say, I'm stuck on superlatives, can we talk about this in class? I'll come up with the lesson plan and put this lesson on the board, and we will go through it as a class and kind of talk about it and do the video, watch the video, do the game, and then that student will then go back home and try it on their own. So I've seen this has helped a lot for students, and that they're really enjoying this program. Another thing that these students really love is that it's family friendly. So a lot of my students that have younger kids, they will sit with them and they'll kind of watch as their parents are going through this program and kind of help each other, which is really nice. So they're kind of doing this family learning. I also found that it's kind of a good tip to have someone be kind of the lead person in your program. We first started with, thank you for changing the slide, we started with the teachers kind of individually taking control of their classes, and we found that it kind of got a little messy. So I kind of took the reins back and kind of decided, all right, well, I will kind of be the main support person for our program and kind of help out with these things. So I have teachers will say, oh, I have a student, they're ready for a certificate. Do you mind printing it out? So we'll print it out. We print them out in this really nice cardstock, and then we produce them and give them to the teachers, and they kind of make the student success thing in the class, and it's great, and the students love it. So it's really up to you to kind of do this trial and error and figure out if it's beneficial for you to have someone in the program that kind of enrolls the students yourself, because that's something you can do. You can just enroll all the students at once, or you can have the students individually enroll themselves. So, I mean, I have lots of tips, and you're welcome to email me about them, but I think those are kind of the main ones that I would say.
Thanks so much, Drew and Megan, for sharing information about Learning Upgrade. There's a lot there, and I noticed that Vinod has been answering questions that were chatted along the way. There are a couple that weren't answered, it looks like. If you could just clarify exactly what the policy is going to be about access after August 31st for both iOS and Android users who have downloaded before
Sure.
October 31st.
So the XPRIZE is for Android users, and so after August 31, 2019, any Android Communities Competition user is going to have access until August 31 of 2020. So that's the same across the board for all teams. Any Android user has access to the Communities Competition till August 31, 2020. For the iOS users and the web-based users, their courses will expire on August 31, 2019. And then we can talk to those programs. We're already in talks with quite a few about continuing and how to do that past that date. So if you have any specific questions on that, shoot me an email, drew@learningupgrade.com, and I'll be able to answer those in a way that's a little bit more specific to your program.
Great, thank you. There was another question from Kathleen O'Connell. Can you explain how to use this with a whole class? Is it available on a website so you can project it onto a screen? I think we might have gotten an answer to that, but if you want to add a little bit more, Megan, if you had this experience, that'd be great.
Yeah, so it is available on the web. So, our courses are available on any web-enabled device. So you can have it on Android, you can have it on iOS, and you can use it in any web browser. And so that's important because I know a lot of our programs in the libraries use computer labs or Chromebooks. And so that's for the student and the teacher. So speaking of the whole class lessons, the teachers can use those if they want to demo it on a mobile device, but most of our teachers will use it through a browser. So the LMS is available through a browser. The teacher logs in. They can view all of their student activity and reports, but they can also launch their teacher whiteboard from there. And that's how you do the whole class instruction if you want to project it onto a screen or whatever the teacher would like to do. But everything that we do is available on any web-enabled device. So you're not limited to a device as a student or a teacher.
Great, thanks. We are doing really well on time, so I encourage you to chat some more questions if you have them. I think that we have been addressing them in the chat as they've come along. Vinod, is there anything about the questions that you've answered in the chat that you'd like to add to for the whole group?
Yeah, I think there were some questions about, first of all, what happens after and the difference between the different computer platforms, plus, as you said, the whole class. I think the key there for Learning Upgrade is that if you apply for a pilot and do this with the 7-digit code, and so that you can track all the students through your interface, that from now until August 31st of 2019, you'll be able to track the students. They'll be able to use iOS, web, or Android. You'll be able to use the whole class teacher whiteboard courses, everything until the end of August of 2019. The Android users get to keep going for another year. I think that's the main question. And I think there's a question for Megan too about why Bunker Hill chose the Learning Upgrade app. So I'll let her answer that one.
Thank you. Yeah, Megan, please share.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we decided to choose Learning Upgrade. It was actually, excuse me, we watched a webinar that kind of introduced these apps. It's the first time we heard about, I believe it was CELED and Learning Upgrade. And so when we went through and kind of looked at the pros and cons, we thought that Learning Upgrade kind of fit our program better just with our population of students and the fact that a lot of our students have young children at home, and we thought if we made this appealing enough for them to be able to use it with their families, that they were more likely to do these 2 hours online weekly versus something that's personal and it's just like them texting it. So that's kind of the main reason why we really liked this one.
Thank you. Any other questions from the group? Mike, I think we've answered everything that's come in. Shout if you notice anything.
Yeah, we are all clear. They have been holding it down very well. Y'all have been doing really well at handling these questions real time and making sure everyone gets heard and echoed. So great job, guys. And it looks like we're still getting some comments, though, from Xavier. Just posted in.
Right. So I think there's another question here for Learning Upgrade. English K-5 courses seem to focus on language arts. does it get into life skills ESL?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. I mean, our program is used both for ESL and for traditional literacy programs. If you look at English K and English 1, especially English K1, 2, we cover, all of the basic ESL standards in those 3 courses. And then in the higher courses, it's a little more functional in reading comprehension, writing, and understanding. So I think there's a combination. If you go to learningupgrade.com and click on courses, you will see our alignment to CCRS standards and also the course content, the 60 lessons in every one of those courses. I think Drew just put our lesson list up there. So I think if you look at all the lessons plus the CCRS alignment, I think that will make more sense.
And there's another question, are only the lower levels available for the competition?
Well, for Learning Upgrade, everything is available. So what I mean by that is all 21 courses, all 960 lessons, including GED, HiSET, Prep, English, and Math, all the way up to Algebra. So we're not giving you anything less than what any other customer would get. It's 100% of all of the Learning Upgrade.
Great, thanks. So again, I'm so impressed by the generosity of these developers in support of this communities competition. And thank you so much for being here and for making yourselves available to answer questions after the webinar also. I noticed, Catherine, you've chatted something else. I'm wondering if you'd like to use a minute to share what you've just chatted with the group. You could unmute yourself if you want to. Okay, I can just go ahead, Catherine.
XPRIZE had done a small video telling us about how the things that the literacy providers should know is that if you're sharing a device in the classroom for the communities competition, each device will only be counted one time towards the competition. So if you have 20 students sharing one device and you get 3 separate consecutive days of login, that device will count as one person even if it's used for 6 months by 100 different users. The other thing to note is they told us that I think it's so fabulous that Learning Upgrade has the ability to have users use iOS. And that's our goal also. However, just for the sake of the contest, you should know they will only count the use on the Android phones, not on any other type of device. So just to encourage your people, if they have a choice of devices, to put it on their Android device during the competition period.
Great, thank you. So I encourage you to follow up with either developers of either tool using these email addresses here. I also encourage you to join the Team World Ed if you'd like to continue to get updates about things like additions to the FAQ that we put on our support website, or notification of new webinars that we're going to have. So you can join the team by filling out this form at bit.ly/team_worlded. A reminder here that when you have your learners download the app, please make sure to have them use the code 3366 so that this team will be credited for that use. And then finally, we are having next month's webinar on May 17th. And we're going to focus on FAQ highlights. So there are teams around the country who are really getting into implementation, and we hope that by mid-May there will be even more information that we can share with each other about onboarding and supporting learners with mobile learning. We'll send a registration link out to this webinar for everyone who, and along with a recording of this webinar to everyone who has registered. And we thank you for joining us. Please keep the questions coming to both the developers and to us. Thanks again to our guest presenters. This was a really wonderful webinar, and we thank you for your time. So take care, everyone. Goodbye.